mistaken, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to witness many, many more Ramadans. The beginning of Ramadan, I believe it was the third or the fourth night of Ramadan, I was driving home after having prayed Taraweeh, and I was driving home, and a friend messaged me. And he said to me, he said, Shaykh, there's a brother who just accepted Islam today. He has some questions. Would you mind answering those questions or just talking to him? So I said, sure, give him my number. And within 5 or 10 minutes, I got a phone call. And I was pretty sure it was this individual that had just accepted Islam that was calling me. I picked up the phone, said, hello, who is it? He introduced himself. He said, Assalamu alaikum. He said, my name is Julio. I said, Julio, good to meet you. I heard about you. Please tell me who you are. What is your story? How long have you been looking into Islam? Why did you accept Islam? Tell me, give me some background about who you are. So he began to briefly explain to me about his journey, that he had been looking into Islam for 8 months and studying Islam. And he said that, Shaykh, today I took my shahada. Today I accepted Islam. I said, with who? How? Not that you needed someone, but just, he said, you know, there's a shaykh over Zoom, and I got on Zoom and I took my shahada with this shaykh. I said, MashaAllah, that's impressive. And throughout the conversation, he had been studying Islam for 8 months, so he had picked up certain Arabic phrases, Bismillah, MashaAllah, Allahu Akbar. Now, because he was still a brand new Muslim, he didn't know how to use these phrases and where to use them appropriately. So he was using them, but it was showing his sincerity and how excited he was and how motivated he was to be Muslim, right? And I'm listening, it's such a beautiful story. He's only 23 years old, telling me that he grew up as a Catholic Christian, but he never believed in the Trinity, and he believes Islam is the truth. And then he was so excited, he said, I've already learned how to do wudu. Now, the way he pronounced the word wudu was a little different, but I got what he meant, right? And he said, tomorrow, he said, I'm so excited to fast, my first time fasting. And he said, tomorrow I want to go to the mosque for the first time in my life. Never ever been to a mosque. And he was so full of energy and passion, just inspired, right? Because the light of guidance had entered his heart, and now it was just illuminating his heart, and it was emanating through his actions, his limbs, his statements. So much so that even when we got towards the end of the phone call, I said, okay, Julio, will be in touch. Look forward to meeting you. I said, Assalamu alaikum. He said, Wa alaikum assalam, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Right? Just out of the excitement and knowing these phrases. This was the first story I wanted to share. The second story, just a few nights ago, about 4 nights ago, in the last few nights of Ramadan, I called a brother. I called this brother specifically, a different brother. I called this brother specifically because I heard he was struggling. I heard he was struggling with his faith. This is an individual that used to pray, that used to fast. I called him, we caught up. I asked him how he was doing. He asked me how I was doing. We caught up on life, right? I was a little hesitant to ask him about religion because I was worried about what I might hear. So we engaged. I was driving. It was a long drive. We talked for about 25, 30 minutes. And then I said, you know what? I got to ask it to him. I got to ask it to him. And what I wanted to ask him was, have you been fasting? But I changed my question at the last minute. Instead of asking him about, have you been fasting? I said, I got to ask you, how are your prayers? How are your prayers? And I wasn't talking about Taraweeh. I was talking about the 5 daily prayers. How are your prayers? And he said, honestly, Ahmad, I haven't been praying at all. I haven't been praying at all. You know that forehead that you and I, we bowed numerous times. We put it down in prostration, in submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiple times, perhaps hundreds of times just in the month of Ramadan. He said, to be honest, he wasn't proud about it. He said, I haven't been praying at all. So I tried to kind of encourage him to pray. He said, you have to start somewhere. There's a few days left in Ramadan. What better time to go back now? And every word of encouragement that I gave him, his response was, I just feel so far away. I just feel so distant. I would try again. I would take the same sentence and rephrase it and give it back to him. Start now. It's not too late. Just one prayer maybe. Start somewhere. I just feel so far. I just feel disconnected. The reason I mention these two incidents is a reminder for myself and a reminder for all of us that our faith is a gift from Allah. It is the greatest gift from Allah. Not everyone gets the gift. Only very select and few people get the gift. But even amongst those that get the gift of faith from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not everyone gets to keep it. Some people keep it and some people lose it. ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. That is from the favor, that is from the bounty of Allah. He gives it to whom He wills. Because you and I were able to sacrifice sleep and time and worship Allah in this month of Ramadan, it doesn't necessitate that when next Ramadan comes around that we'll be doing the same thing. I know numerous people that would worship Allah in one Ramadan, fasting, praying, giving. Something happened in their life, some type of trial, tribulation, something that made them feel far away from Allah, and they either left the religion or they left practicing the religion. See, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He guides whomever He wills. Even just today, on the day of Eid, you know, I tuned in while I was driving to different masajid and their Eid khutbahs. And from what I tuned into, I saw at least 3 or 4 individuals from different communities, 2 from within Southern California, that on the day of Eid, we had masajid where they did Eid salah, they did the Eid khutbah, and then they asked their congregations to wait just for a few minutes because someone had come to the masjid and they wanted to accept Islam today. Even on the day of Eid, people were taking their shahada. Right? I saw it myself on live streams, at least at a bare minimum 2 here in Southern California. That's at a minimum. I know there's more. But this is a phenomenon that happened across North America today. There were individuals that decided that they wanted to take their shahada today. There will be individuals tomorrow or in a week that want to take their shahada. I got a message after Eid Salah today from a Muslim brother who says, I have a friend, Sheikh, he's really close to accepting Islam. Can you just talk to him? He has a few questions. The light of Allah continues to spread. But as it spreads, it is Allah that is bestowing gifts upon these people. One of the names of Allah is Al-Wahhab, the bestower of gifts. And the greatest gift that Al-Wahhab bestows upon you and I is that gift of faith. You know, even when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about the month of Ramadan, at the end of that verse, He says, وَلِتُكْمِلُ الْعِدَّةِ, so that you can complete the count, the number of days in the month. وَلِتُكَبِّرُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ, that you glorify Allah. You mention the greatness of Allah. Why? عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ, because of how He guided you, what He guided you to. وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, and so that you can be grateful. You know, every time you and I stood in prayer, every time you and I did ruku', every time we did sujood, every single prostration, whether it was a person bowing and putting their head on the ground, or if they can't, on the chair, every single movement was a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wanted, He could have deprived you and I. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His mercy, from His generosity, He sent us the guest of Ramadan. But He didn't just send us the guest of Ramadan. When the guest of Ramadan came knocking on our doors, the guest of Ramadan was carrying gifts. What were those gifts? One of those boxes that the guest of Ramadan was carrying was the gift of prayer. Another box the guest of Ramadan was carrying was the gift of fasting. Another box was the gift of recitation. Another box that the guest of Ramadan was carrying was the gift of charity. And you and I, we took all of these boxes and we opened each box. And we were amazed, and we were grateful, and we were thankful for those gifts. But now what do you do that the guest has left? Although the guest has left, the gift remains in our hands. Those boxes, they remain in our hands. You either get those boxes, you put them in the garage, and you put them in the recycling bin and you never see them again. Or you keep those boxes and you cherish those boxes. And you allow those boxes to illuminate your houses, to illuminate your life, your spouse's life, your children's life with faith. Because your child prayed next to you this Ramadan, because your child fasted this Ramadan, it doesn't necessitate that they'll be doing the same thing next Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He tells us the story of Yusuf alayhi salam and the different stages of life that Yusuf went through and the different trials and tribulations. From as a young child, being thrown into the well by his brothers, they were trying to get rid of him, trying to kill him. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves him. He's in the house of Al-Aziz. Then he's in prison. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes Yusuf from prison to becoming a person of power and dignity and authority in the land of Egypt. And then Yusuf alayhi salam, he's reunited with his family after many, many years. What does Yusuf alayhi salam ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for towards the end of his life? Allah tells us, He says, رَبِّ قَدْ آتَيْتَنِي مِنَ الْمُلْكِ وَعَلَّمْتَنِي مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. Oh my Lord, you have given me kingdom, power, authority. وَعَلَّمْتَنِي مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. And you have taught me dream interpretation. فَاطِرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. You are the creator, the originator of the heavens and the earth. Yusuf alayhi salam, acknowledging, confessing that everything that you and I, everything that he saw on a daily basis around him, around us, it proves and it shows and it reminds us the existence of Allah. You are the creator of the heavens and the earth, everything. أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة. You are my protector in this life and in the next. The fact that we got to experience Ramadan and enjoy it and engage in worship is a sign that Allah is our protector. But it doesn't necessitate that Allah will remain our protector. We have to do acts to ensure that Allah remains our protector. If we keep that protection of Allah, then we will be forever safe. But if we lose that protection, then we could have wealth and health and family and it will mean nothing. أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة. You are my protector in this world and the next. What is Yusuf alayhi salam's plea? What is his ask from Allah? 2. توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. Allow me to die in a state of submission to you. Cause me to die as a Muslim, submitting to you. Doesn't matter, position of power or not, good health or bad health, with family or not. توفني مسلما. Allow me to die in a state of submission. وألحقني بالصالحين. And join me with the righteous. These are the two requests that Yusuf alayhi salam had. And these are the two requests that we should have constantly upon our tongues. توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cause us to die in a state of submission to Him and to join us with the righteous. أقول ما تسمعون واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين نحمده سبحانه وتعالى حمد الشاكرين ونستغفره استغفار المذنبين المقصرين ونصلي ونسلم على خير خلق الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. It is a blessed day because it is the day of Friday, but it is even more blessed because it is the day of Eid al-Fitr. Just a quick reminder as we end that we live as a minority in this country. Our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, they are bombarded day and night with ideologies and methodologies and celebrations that contradict our religion. This is our day of festival. This is our day of festival. Somehow find a way to make it special for yourself and your family. Whether that means taking them to the park or going out to eat or just spending quality time with them. Find a way to make it special for your family, your children, your spouses, your siblings, your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, whatever it may be. Congratulate them, speak to them. Tell them about the importance of this day, what it means. Remind them of the blessing of Islam. Remind them that whether you are alive or you die, remind them that you want them to grow up as a practicing Muslim. Remind them of Allah and Allah's favors upon them. Show them the clothes that they're wearing, the food that they're eating, the roof that is above their heads, and remind them that this is the favor of Allah upon them. And then remind them, but even greater than all of those favors is the favor of faith that Allah has put in our hearts and Allah has put in their hearts. Make them cherish their faith. Make them love their faith. Make them love their Creator and their Master and their Nourisher. Teach them about Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Teach them about Al-Ghafur. Teach them about At-Tawwab. Teach them about Al-Wadud. Teach them about who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. In hopes that when you and I have left this world, that they will remain firmly grounded in their faith, submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night, constant in their prayers, fasting in the month of Ramadan, and fulfilling all of their obligations to Allah as well as to the creation around them. And lastly, for those of you who have family members that are abroad or in different states, reach out to them, send them messages, greet them, make dua for them. For friends that you have not spoken to in a while, check in on them, especially people that you have not connected with in a while, check in on them. You know, I mentioned that story at the beginning of me checking in on this individual, and I had delayed it for a few days because I didn't want to have that difficult conversation. But eventually I had to have that conversation. And yes, that conversation, what I heard in that conversation was not pleasing to my ears. But my hope is that out of that conversation, it might have put that brother on the right track or given him some hope. There are people in our lives that are looking for guidance. There are people in our lives that feel far away from the religion. Send them a message, Eid Mubarak. Tell them that you are making dua for them. Remind them that you love them, that you care for them. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses you and I to bring people back to His religion. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses you and I to spread the light of Islam. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends for us to be people that inspire and motivate others. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the best of this world, the best of the next, and to save us from the punishment of the hellfire. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم توفنا مسلمين وألحقنا بالصالحين. توفنا مسلمين وألحقنا بالصالحين. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم اهدنا لأحسن الأخلاق لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت واصرف عنا سيئها ولا يصرف عنا سيئها إلا أنت. اللهم أعد علينا رمضان مرات عديدة وأزمنة مديدة. اللهم أعد علينا رمضان مرات عديدة وأزمنة مديدة. اللهم فرج هم المهمومين ونفس كرب المكروبين واقض الدين عن المدينين واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصل اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله